Well, I've always been a car guy, and kind of grew up around farm equipment, so sooner or later I was going to get some kind of Mustang. Welcome back to Kaler's Mods and Repair. This one's going to be a little different, kind of test the waters a little bit. Instead of working on a car or a truck or something along those lines, we're actually going to be working on this skid loader I picked up. This, I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it was technically a one-owner machine. It was owned locally. I actually live not far from the plant where these were originally made, here in Minnesota. The guy I got it from a neighbor. He got it from the original owner, and he wasn't sure what he was going to do with it. Him and I do a lot of horse trading on parts and vehicles and a lot of stuff, really. So he goes, "Hey, you want a skid loader?" I said, "Well, maybe. How much do you want?" He told me what he wanted, and I thought, well, that is about what I'm looking to spend. So I said, "What do you know about it?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't know anything about it." So I also know nothing about it now. He said all he remembers the guy saying about something being wrong with it is some kind of hydraulic leak. Could be the cylinders for the lift arms, could be the cylinders for the tilt, could even be the hydraulic pump. We just don't know yet, so we're gonna find out, hopefully. I actually live out in the country, rural southern Minnesota, so skid loader is kind of one of those things that's really handy to have, and I don't know, it's something I didn't have, kind of wanted for a while, so price is right for what I'm into it at right now. Just sitting here not having done anything to it, I'm already going to come out ahead, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. But let me bring you guys in and we'll take a closer look at what we got to work with here. So I don't know the exact year on this machine just yet. I've actually had it for a while now. I picked it up and I told myself I'm not going to work on it until I've gotten a few more projects done. Well, it's been a busy few months, but those projects are about as done as they're going to get for now. So I figured, hey, winter's coming, it's time to dive into it. You guys probably heard me mention 78 F-150 a couple times now. By the time you're seeing this video, that's the truck I'm referring to. We'll do a video on that pretty soon here. That truck came with a name. That's Old Bomber. But anyhow, back to the skid loader. So it's a 1980 something. These came with two different engines. I'm actually just going to barge in here. There's actually three different engines. The diesel was a Deutz air-cooled, and the two gas engine options was a Ford 1.1 liter, which is what this machine has, and a Ford 1.6 liter. Well, I don't know a whole lot about these, but I do know they're a lot like the four-cylinder car engines, a lot like them, and I do know quite a bit about those, so I'm not too worried about that. Don't need a whole lot of compression, just need fuel and spark pretty much. So we're gonna see if we can get that going. What I do know about this engine is it does rotate, it's not stuck, so that's a good thing. But downside, and I'll show you here in a little bit, not a lot of compression. I'm not going to panic about that just yet. I don't know the hours on this machine. I don't even know if the hour meter works, but we're just going to take a chance on it. Like I said, for what I'm into it right now, I can't really lose so much. So if I got to part it out, I can make some money back. If I got to scrap it, I might lose a little bit of money, but we're not going to scrap it. I know that. Maybe it's something where we need to do something a little more extensive on it. We don't know yet. So as we keep going around the machine here, it's got a couple of new hoses, a couple of old hoses. The paint's seen better days. These tires aren't the worst thing in the world. They're not very good though. So, you know, if this machine earns its keep, does well, maybe it's a candidate for getting new tires. I don't know yet. So this machine has a T-bar for the drive control and then foot pedals for the bucket and loader arm controls. So on a newer machine, the ISO style of operation is there's a lever on this side or a joystick, and that's going to be tip it forward, that's your forward, back is reverse, left is left, right is right, so on and so forth. And then your right stick is going to control your boom up, boom down, bucket curl, bucket out. And then you'll also sometimes have a toggle switch for a third function, which allows you to run things like a grapple, an implement, something along those lines. This machine does not have the third function, so that's something I was kind of hoping to get when I got around to buying a skid loader, but nonetheless, beggars can't be choosers. The way the T-bar drive works though is it kind of works like a steering wheel, really. I mean, it drives like a zero turn still, but you push the lever forward to go forward, you pull it backwards to go backwards, and then when you want to steer, you grab a hold of the top of that bar. You want to turn left, you turn the bar left. You want to go right, turn the bar right. With this kind of steering, it's kind of one of those things where you're either going straight forward, straight backwards, or you're turning. You're not going to be turning as you go. You can do it, but boy, does it take you for a ride. I've ran T-bar skid loaders before, and they really, really get you. They're rough riding, but you know, like I said, beggars can't be choosers. As we move on into the cab here on the inside, it's not much for creature comfort. Down in here, we got some parts laying around. That is the original seat. Got an alternator. Somebody had done a GM one-wire conversion on this at some point. And then, of course, the exhaust is laying in here. And botched up wiring, but hey, brand new lights. How about that? We do have a little viewing area out the top of the cab, so that takes care of that blind spot. And then it's an open cab, so like I said, not the biggest, fanciest machine. These actually don't have a lot of lift capacity compared to other machines, but it's pretty good for what I would need. Another nice feature of these machines, this is kind of ahead of its time when it came out, is they have a zero extension, I think is how they called it, lift on the bucket. So as the bucket goes up, it goes straight up. Whatever angle you have it at, it's gonna stay at the same distance from the front of the machine, from the bottom all the way to the top of the stroke. So it's not gonna get closer to the back of the machine as you're lifting up, and it's not gonna go down and forward as you're lowering it. This bucket is going to be the same distance at the top and at the bottom. So that's kind of a really neat thing. It's kind of a safety measure more than anything. It keeps you from tipping as much as you normally would with a different machine. Yeah, so let's toss a battery in it and I'll show you what I mean about not having a lot of great compression here. Kind of a cool thing, I had a different machine lined up when I actually bought this one. It was another skid loader about the same weight class, I guess you could say. It was a Bobcat 610, M610 I should say, back when it was an all-row Bobcat. And that was kind of a special machine in my opinion. That one belongs to a family friend, and when I was a kid, I'd go hang out with them, and we'd go out to the farm and we'd goof off and do chores, run equipment, wrench on equipment. We do all kinds of stuff. That's just the way we all grew up. But yeah, it was actually the first skid loader I ever ran, and it had blown up some time ago, and it's been sitting in a tree row for a long time. My buddy's dad was telling me about that, and this was probably 6 years ago. I said, well, would you want to sell that machine? And he goes, well, maybe. And we just kind of tossed the idea back and forth for a long time, and I had the money, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go talk to him. I says, you want to sell that skid loader? He goes, well, actually I was thinking about paying you to fix it. Here he's doing some work and was thinking about maybe getting it back up and running. So then he decided he didn't want to sell it just yet, which is fine. You know, I think his family bought that one new, so there's some sentimental value to them in that. I'm a sucker for sentimental value. You guys will learn that as I show some more of the stuff we've got here. But I love the stories behind stuff. I love history behind things, both personal history and just the general history of the machines. Like I said, we live not far from Owatonna, Minnesota, where these were made. Mustang was an OMC line, and that's what they had as their skid loaders back then. They actually were the ones that created the first skid loader, to my knowledge anyhow. So OMC is the Owatonna Manufacturing Company. They built farm equipment. They didn't really build tractors, but they built things like self-propelled swathers. They built hay elevators, skid loaders, manure spreaders, stackers for haylage, silage chopping equipment. It goes on and on. But yeah, these were actually built not far from where I live, so that has been really cool for me to know that. I'd have to ask, but I think I had some family that actually worked in the plant at the time this would have been made, so I'm not too sure on that, but that's a possibility. But I love old history like that. I love getting to know where things came from, getting to know the people who had them before. I don't actually know the gentleman that owned this before me, unfortunately, the original owner, but you know, that's okay. That gives me a chance to learn the machine for myself. I am not afraid of buying something to get worked on. One of my buddies was asking me one time, why do you buy junk? Well, because then when I get it running and I get it working, then I know what I'm dealing with. I know the machine. I'm not buying somebody else's mess that they band-aided so that they could sell it. You know, I'm buying something that I need to work on so that I know what I got into it. Anyhow, we got the battery in. I was fiddling with this probably a month ago, and the wiring is something else in this machine. Somebody else has been in here just hacking away at it. They got carried away with the wire cutters and the wire nuts, and I'll show you as we go on through this, but we don't need the key, so I'm going to do it anyhow. The key doesn't actually do anything. I'm bumping the key right now. It doesn't actually do anything. It should, but as long as we've got the battery hooked up, got a little push button here. That doesn't seem to be doing anything. I think we might have a bad connection. That's it. Here I am rambling away. Come on. Stop. You're embarrassing. Good. Huh. Well, what do we got going on here? Well, that's loose. That a little bit here. Try. Give me just a second. Got Dad's little John Deere back there. Makes a good workbench. So anybody watching this, tell me if you got a memory working with an old skid loader as a kid, or if you know anything about the history of these. Anything really. I like getting to learn what other people know. You can't know everything, but you can know a lot of people that know a lot of things about a lot of different things. And that's just as good in my opinion. See, I know this battery can't be dead because I was just working on another project vehicle over there. And this is the battery I had in it not 20 minutes ago. No, it ain't dead. Sure. Try that again. No. We're getting some juice. See, I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a little wire here somebody piggybacked over. I actually ran that into the cab and have it going to a push button. So might need to drop that panel down, see if that's working. Alright, great news. It was still the same connection I was fighting before. Just wasn't quite making the communication it was needing. But, see if you can hear this. You hear how it goes whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. That's what I mean by low compression. And it's doing that on every single cylinder, all 4 of them. That whoop, whoop, whoop means it's just not building any compression. It shouldn't do that. It should be a nice, crisp, thumping noise rather than a, bleh noise. You don't want to hear that. But got a few things we can check out on that. That is all the further I've torn into this thing to see what it does. Let's take the spark plugs out, take a look at them, see what we can see on there. Maybe pull the valve cover off, see if there's some valves hanging up, something like that. That'll cause the same issue. Part of why I wanted to jump on this at this point in time is it's getting cold here in Minnesota. The time I'm filming this, it is about just under 50 degrees out. It's Early October, getting cold. We're in the swing of harvest right now around here, so trying to get everything out of the fields before it gets too cold. I don't want to say the nasty 4-letter word that starts with an S, but it'll be here before we know it. So kind of want to get this done before that happens. So just looking at this first plug here, it's got a little surface rust on it. Can't really see that too good. I'm shaking you guys. It's got some surface rust on it. That might partially be just from sitting. It's definitely carboned up. You might notice some of the tools I use are fairly name brand, right off the tool truck kind of stuff. Reason for that is I went to school for automotive technology, and I've worked as a fleet diesel mechanic on light duty diesel. Some other jobs I've had is doing repair work on semis, farm equipment of, whether it's engine repair, hydraulic system work, general maintenance on tillage equipment, anything really. I've worked on a lot of stuff. Oh no, here comes the helicopters. Coming in hot. Oh, you should see it. The birds are running. This plug's more of the same. This one looks like it might have been burning about right when it was burning. I say when it was burning because it looks like it was misfiring there. It might have a dead cylinder there. I guess we're gonna see. There's a lot of information online that you can look up on how to read spark plugs. It's not, I will say it's not the end all be all of seeing how your engine was running and getting all the information. Some of the info you're gonna get from reading your spark plug may not be entirely pertinent to your application for your particular engine. The reason I say that is it can kind of vary how the engine's used, what your displacement is, what kind of RPM you're turning, all that stuff, your fuel, all of it plays into how your spark plugs are going to show. But you can learn a lot from it, if it's got a little bit of a green tinge and your engine's running green coolant, there's a good chance you got a crack somewhere in the cooling system or a failed head gasket and you're getting coolant getting into the cylinders and it's trying to burn that. This one doesn't look horrible. It doesn't look great. It does have a pretty distinct timing mark going down the strap. Also doesn't look like it had been run long on this plug. Same with that last one. So far, none of these are looking super oily. So in a way, that's kind of good. That's hopefully telling me that we don't have a bunch of blow-by. I guess another thing to mention too, when you're working on stuff that's been sitting a long time, piston rings can get stuck either internally in the ring lands of the piston, so they're not contacting the cylinder wall, or vice versa, they can get stuck against the cylinder wall and make it feel like the engine's locked up. Well, technically it would be locked up, but just the rings sticking. Sometimes they'll pop right loose. I have had that happen every time that's been the case. Uh-oh, this one's kind of bad looking. So this one's covered in oil. But sometimes those rings will pop right loose. No harm, no foul. Sometimes you're not as fortunate. Sometimes you bust a ring loose and the ring breaks on the way and sometimes you can damage a piston. A lot of times you have to be very concerned about damaging the cylinder wall, or if it was already damaged. Yeah, see, this one's oil fouled. It's not the worst oil fouling I've ever seen, but it's not good. A lot of that's just wiping right off. I think this plug was pretty new as well, but there's a bunch of oil that was getting onto that. Same thing, that can't really see a whole lot down into those cylinders right now. I don't got a flashlight with me. I can jab down in there. So far we got one hole's looking kind of oily. One hole doesn't look like it was hardly firing, and we got one that looks like it must have had some moisture in it. Well, a few of them do, but I don't know how long this thing was sitting, to be honest with you. Could have been a year, could have been a few years. Heck, it could have been 20 years. I really don't know. There's not much to say about this machine as far as, you know, how it was ran. It's missing parts. It's not a complete machine, so we can trust that, you know, we're gonna find some problems with it. It was a farm machine, I know that as well. We got some sludge up here. Oh, cover's loose. Let me get that pried open, and I'm gonna get those screws off, and then I'll bring you guys back. Had to go and get some more tools. Didn't have everything I needed with me. Oh, I don't want to damage that. Let's just do this. I don't have the plugs tight, but I did stick the plug wires back on just because that way they're held up, so they're not so much in the way. There we go. Should still be in the same order they are on there. Didn't really do much. Not a whole lot to working on these. There's not a lot of engine to work on. Just your basic inline 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated gasoline. Oh, we got clearance issues. That's all right. Everything's loose. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, you can see this big old hole right here. That's where the alternator is supposed to be, and then of course your exhaust coming up off of it. I think it comes out up here when it's all said and done. The alternator being switched over to a GM 1-wire style. It's a lot bigger alternator, so they got kind of a home-brewed bracket in here to accommodate that, and it's a little bit less serviceable. It also makes it a little bit of a bugger to get the battery in and out, which I think is why they had all that off, to be honest with you. I haven't checked to see if that alternator is any good. Don't really have a bench tester. Those things are expensive. Whew. But we'll see. If it isn't, I've owned quite a few vehicles, a lot of projects, some of them bought for parts. I know I've got at least one of those alternators kicking around. And if I don't, well, I've got plenty of good alternators elsewhere. I can come up with something. Not to mention, those are a dime a dozen. You can find them anywhere. Go to the auto parts store and buy one. Go to the junkyard. However you want to do it. Really common conversion. It's called a 1-wire because you only need 1 wire to run it. So that's why a lot of people like to go to that. Don't want to wreck this gasket. I got another one. Come on. Oh, I didn't need to worry about wrecking the gasket. It's already wrecked. We don't need to wreck it more, Mason. Come on. Leaves in the valve train. That's fine. It's fine. We'll get those out later. Not exactly working in the most kind conditions here. Working with what Mother Nature offered us today, which is cold, but not rainy, so that counts. Don't need none of that this time of year. Had plenty of it yesterday though, unfortunately. Alright. Come on. Almost there. A little more information here. Nope, that doesn't tell us a thing. Well, let's see what we got here. So this cylinder's open. Now I'm gonna go roll this thing over, and you just shout at me if you see one of them hanging up or not moving or something like that. Battery's dying. Gotcha. Well, see, it's not where I left it. That counts for something. Another way you can check and see if your valves are seating or if they're stuck or whatnot, you can just come in here and give them a tap. See those two, you can hear them kind of snap back against the seat. See that one too. Can't hear it on that one. Obviously that one is open right now, so of course it's not gonna hit the seat. Well, so now we know none of those are hanging up. That one still seems like it might not be seating right. We'll have to look into that later, maybe. But for now, I'm gonna get these plugs tightened back up. We're gonna leave that valve cover off. I'm not too worried about it this second. And we're gonna move on to checking for spark. Actually, you know what? Let's just do that right now rather than wait. The wiring being as botched up as it is, I'm a little worried. Might not have spark just from a wiring issue, but we'll see what we can find here. All right, you guys keep an eye on that again for me. You just watch it right there. Tell me if you see anything. Well, what'd you see? Well, looks like you guys didn't see nothing. No spark to be had. So, we know we don't have spark right now. We're gonna have to look into that. Before we can do that though, we are gonna need to charge the battery back up. So I'm gonna get some of this buttoned up. You guys just sit tight and we'll be right back. All right, so we don't have spark. So this should be a point system when I'm looking at it. Should be. I haven't popped the cap off yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start just by checking to see if I clean the points up and hook the battery back up, if we can get spark at the points. Really easy to check in that case. If I can't get spark at the points, then we're going to look and see if we're having a voltage delivery issue or what might be going on. So I'm going to dive into this. It's kind of tight quarters, so I might not be able to show you guys most of this, but we'll switch over to a different camera angle and see what we can come up with. Alright, we might fall out of focus here as I'm doing this, but we're just gonna roll with it. So I think I'm just gonna get this out of the way first. You guys believe it? For some reason I don't have a flat drive screwdriver with me. Pry bar, screwdriver, same thing. Alright. We're gonna get this inlet fuel line off of it. Loosen that up a little more. Okay. Just get that off to the side here for now. And can't tell. Oh, that's gonna be coolant. That'll be fun. Hopefully you guys can see that a little better now. Right down here is the distributor cap. So we're gonna pop that off. There we go. All right. Out you go. Come on. So I did a little more reading. Apparently I was mistaken as to what engine this would be. So this is actually a 1.1 liter, which I think is something like a 67 cubic inch Ford Industrial 4-cylinder. So a little bit different than what I was thinking it was. See that, or 1.6, one of the two. Anyhow, got our cap off so we can look in here. We can see the rotor. It's got some handwritten numbers on it, so I don't know. It looks fairly new. Alrighty, we were having some camera problems. So I got the distributor cap off. We definitely got point system here. And I was doing a little more research, and it appears I had some bad information about this engine. It's actually a 1.1 liter, which I think is something like a 67 cubic inch displacement. So it's the smaller of the two gas engines that were available in this. The larger one was a 1.6 liter from Ford. They're both of the same series. It just comes out to the size of the displacement. So just looking at what we got for wiring here, does look like we don't have everything hooked up quite right as far as wiring's concerned. We'll have to look into that here in a second. Not too sure what was supposed to go where, so we're gonna have to figure that out as we go along here. But I'm almost wondering if we don't have power to the coil. I'm gonna pause you guys. The points are definitely dirty, so we're gonna have to clean those, but I do want to see if we're getting power to the coil. So I'm gonna pause you. I'm gonna slap a battery back in this and we're gonna take another look at it. All right, so we got our battery back in now. I got the key on and we are going to see if we are getting power to the coil, and then probably also check to see if we are, if we're getting signaled to trigger that where it needs to be. This is a really handy test light from Snap-on. I'm not sponsored or affiliated in any way with them. I just like having good tools. So sometimes that's Snap-on, sometimes that's Mac. If you're a technician, you'll know what I'm talking about. How you can't have just one brand of tools. Let's be honest, nobody makes every tool perfect. Every company's got a little bit better tool than the other guy. We do have voltage here. Why I like this test light is it actually has a digital readout on it. So it does give me that information as to whether or not I've got the right voltage where I need it. So I don't have to just guess and say, oh yeah, no, I've got what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm just poking around here. We got voltage where we need it at the coil. We got voltage where we need it in the distributor. So now I'm gonna just bump this over a little bit and then we're gonna see if we can get spark at the points. Should be enough. Yep. All right. So let's see what we can get here. Nothing. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it once I do get spark here, so I might just get it and then bring you guys in and show you. But you might be able to hear it. It's going to be kind of a flash and you'll hear a little bit of a crackling noise, I guess you could say. Let's kill that. Here's another thought. Let's see if that key's even doing anything. It isn't. So battery is always on, or ignition is always on. So I'm probably gonna get shocked doing this. That's okay. So let's see if we can get this opened up and sand those points out. I do own a points file. Go ahead, give me flack for it. It was in a lot of parts that I got at an auction. So if you got the tools, why not use them, right? That's my philosophy. Ouch. Like I said, I am definitely gonna get shocked doing this. Whew. That'll wake you up. Whew. Ouch. Yep. still not getting it. All right, so my file wasn't doing a great job there. I got them cleaned up more now, and let's see if we can get spark out of those points now. Whew. That's what we're looking for. Don't know. Oop, that's not it. Don't know if that's even coming up on camera. Yeah, the camera's hiding it, but it's there. Yeah, for some reason that won't come up on camera, but we are getting spark at our points. So now that we know that's working, we are going to test the coil next, which is hiding way down in there. So I'm gonna test that coil out, and then I'll let you guys know what I find. Sorry everybody, you ended up having to miss out. It was getting to be just a bit of a hassle. We do have spark now. I ended up just going and grabbing this little homemade starter trigger that I have laying around. So now I can do it from back here. We do have spark now, so that's good. We weren't getting that before. So at this point, honestly, I'm gonna just throw a little something flammable down there. Normally I would say don't just shoot carb clean in, but I think that might be what we're gonna do here, just for the sake of something real flammable. We know the cylinders have got oil, so I'm not so worried about that. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab some. All right, see if we can get any life out of it. I'd say it runs. Honestly, it doesn't even sound that bad once I got it running. I'll have to do a little movie magic when I'm putting this video together. That's got to be super loud for you guys. All right, so I already found a couple leaks. One of them's right from the pump, kind of a big leak. But let's see if we can get this started just one more time and try it out a little bit too. Make sure it's worth putting money into. Oh, come on. Whew. I took the floor out of it. So I was playing with it a little bit off camera, just trying to see what I could do. We do got a few pretty good leaks that are going to have to get addressed. This lift cylinder is puking out fluid. The front pump seal is puking out fluid. So pump's going to have to come back and get sealed up. But it does want to turn, it does want to go forward, backwards, it wants to lift, it wants to curl a bucket. That's all working. So I feel a lot better about putting some time and money into this. We do have a fuel delivery problem. Fuel pump doesn't work. Carb needs to be rebuilt. So that's one thing. The exhaust is gonna have to get fixed before I can work on it too much more, just because I don't want to start a fire. That wouldn't be too good. That'd be less than ideal. So we got leaks, exhaust, fuel system. At this point, I think I'm going to go ahead and service it. I'm not going to do that in this video. Actually, none of that's going to get covered in this video. We're getting kind of long. I'll post videos as I go with this, but I do want to apologize about the sporadicness of me posting videos. I'm posting these videos as I have time, parts, and money to work on this stuff. I have quite a few projects going on all at once, so I kind of bounce around to different ones. I don't get them all done start to finish every time. Sometimes I do. It just kind of depends on how soon that needs to be ready and what needs to be done on it. So like I said, I apologize about the sporadic posting, but it's something I'm gonna continue to work on. Maybe more as I get my feet under me with doing this stuff, and have a little more time to work on some of these projects. I'll be able to post more. So I do appreciate your guys' patience in the meantime. Thanks for joining me. Like I said, this is going to be the end of this video, and then next time you see it, we're going to be doing some more work. I don't know if that's going to be some leaks, fuel delivery, exhaust. Probably going to work on the fuel delivery and exhaust in the next video I do on it, and maybe even getting that pump pulled back. Like I said, I'm good with putting some money into this machine now that I know it's going to be a runner. It's going to function. So it is something I need. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife. So we'll put some money into it, get it up and running, and see where it goes from there. Thanks, guys.